This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network.
TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do! Robertson getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello, welcome to this preview edition of the Europa League as Forest head to Sturm Graz in Austria, and I'm delighted to welcome Dan of the Sturm Graz UK fan base, Sturm in UK, as you can see us by social media if you watch it on YouTube. If you're audio listeners, it's Sturm in UK. Dan, thank you very much for joining us. How are you, first of all?
I'm fine, mate. Thanks for inviting us on. Yeah, it's good to be on.
Yeah, this is an unusual thing. So last time I spoke to an opposition fan for Europa League, I spoke to an English supporting Bristol Rovers fan who supported Porto. So the second time I'm speaking to a UK-based person that's supporting a foreign team. I just want to know why, how and why Sturm Graz of all teams.
Yeah, okay. There is a bit of a story, but first and foremost, we are Colchester United fans. So I know that a few Forest fans will know of Colchester United. We had like 20 years ago, we were Championship side, pretty good.
We had Lyle Taylor there last season, Jamie McDonnell.
Yeah, but going back to the glory days of the Championship, we had Jamie Curran, Chris Willamo, Teddy Sheringham even played a season.
Yes.
But anyway, those days are long gone. Now we're wallowing in League Two, and but they are our team. That's where we were born. That's where my dad was born. That's where his dad was born. So we are lifelong Colchester United fans, first and foremost. However, about 5 or 6 years ago, me and my son Archie, we went over to Austria to watch the MotoGP, which is like the Formula One of motorbike racing, which is we're mad into. And we stayed in Graz. And on the Saturday of the weekend, Archie said, "Oh, should we see if there's a football team playing?" Because we've done a bit of ground hopping previously. We've been over to Poznan, we've been to Leverkusen, we've been to Cologne. So we've done a bit of ground hopping previously. But we were in Graz. There was a game on, and it was Sturm were playing a team called Lask, which is a Linz-based side. So managed to get tickets. Got tickets in their North Curve, which is where the ultras, which is where all the ultra groups are. And I was a bit nervous about going in initially because obviously, having been to places like Poznan, there's quite a hardcore ultra element, and they're not too keen on like foreigners coming in, I guess, if you like, or faces they don't know. So I was a bit nervous. So we booked tickets just to the side of the curve, and on the day of the game, on the Saturday, we went in. Were welcomed by one of the fan groups, who, you know, I said to them, says, "All right, if I bring my son in," I think he was 13 or 14 at the time. He was a bit younger than what he's now, obviously. And they said, "Yeah, of course, come in." And they gave us T-shirts, asked us questions about, you know, where we're from, and we watched the game, and it was just incredible. The atmosphere inside that curve, there was like a choreography display, there were flags, loads of pyros going off. And it I guess it took me back really to the days of watching Colchester at Layer Road, which a few of the old listeners might know of. It's Colchester's old ground. It's a very, very small, compact ground. There was an area in there called Barside, which is where I used to stand, and that's where the atmosphere was at its best. And I guess standing in the North Curve, it just took me back to those sort of like memories and feelings really of, you know, singing, you know, not being able to move inside there because of the amount of people in there. It's all standing, it's not sitting. And fell in love basically from that moment forward. And the local beer, so the beer that all the Forest fans will be drinking is Puntigammer, which is a locally produced beer in Graz. I'd had too many of them, and it's like 5.4% strength, all right. So when your guys are out there drinking it, be very careful. It's not like a 4% Foster's or something. It's a strong beer, so you won't need too many of them. But anyway, I'd gone out to the toilet. And the singing is just relentless. So I come back and Archie said they've just gone 1-0 down. So Lask had scored, Sturm were 1-0 down. But the atmosphere, there's just no break. It is singing. You are backing your team for those 90 minutes. You know, I had no idea that we were 1-0 down. We actually went on to lose the game, and we actually didn't watch Sturm win until our third or fourth visit. But it's not about the football. Well, of course it's about the football. We love the football. It was about the atmosphere. It was about the fans. It was about the welcomeness of it all. That's what it was. So that's the story. So 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was, we went over to basically to watch MotoGP. Found Sturm by accident, and absolutely fell in love with them. And I can't, the fans, they're just incredible. They help us out with accommodation when we go over. They help us out with lifts down from Vienna to Graz. They help us out with getting tickets. It's just incredible. We've met some amazing people, which will be friends for life. We were in contact with them every sort of week or whatever. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant! It's like a bit of a romantic story almost. It's like
Yeah.
how most people find their football clubs where like their dad will take them or whatever else. And like I was just telling you off, I did a football manager save with St. Paulton, and they're kind of become my team. I'll check every now and then what they're doing and if there's any players I remember from there. And funny enough, one of the lads who does the pod with us, he's going to watch Admira Wacker v St. Paulton.
So
I think on the Friday after the Sturm Forest game. So he's a bit of he's a keen groundhopper there. So it's really good. How's your, well, it's German and Austrian is like, it's like a slight, there's a slight difference, isn't it? It's a bit like Basque and Spanish, I guess.
Yeah.
Like how is that coming along, or is it not quite?
No, yeah, I'm learning German on Duolingo, but there is Styrian. I guess it's like in the UK, you have different dialects for different areas, don't you? So Styrian, which is the region of where Graz is, they've got a very unique dialect of Austrian stroke German. So yeah, I'm learning it. I sing the songs. I can get by in basic conversation. I can certainly order a couple of beers, and that's the most important thing.
That'll be music to some lads' ears, I'm sure, who enjoy a bevy or two. So yeah, that'll be they'll be. I'm sure they'll take in the local cuisine and everything else as well.
It's incredible.
What is it about that? So I know you spoke about the atmosphere there. So there's a lad who we know called Jamie Marriott, and he used to live in Berlin for a period of time. So Union's his team, and he says he finds the culture shock a little bit different because your team can be 2-3-0 down, but fans are still singing. And obviously, as in England, if we're 2 or 3-0 down, we're halfway down the road, or either up or down the M1, depending where you're going, and kind of a bit peeved off. But how come why is it so different in European football?
It's exactly as you say. I mean, as I say, a lifelong Colchester United fan, we've been through the highs and the lows, and at the moment, it's not the best. But yeah, I often comment to the Austrian people we know from Graz that after 5 minutes of Colchester United, the ground's quiet. It's dead. Win, lose or draw, the crowd is dead. And I was watching. I don't follow a Premier League side. I was watching Match of the Day the other week, and I don't know if there was protests at West Ham or not, but the stadium was empty. After half time, the stadium was empty. Like 25 minutes to go, the noticeable seats that are empty is just it's just rubbish, really, isn't it? But you don't get that in Austria. You don't get that. Certainly, we've found, certainly at Graz anyway. You don't experience that. It is 90 minutes. That's what these people live for. Their whole week is built up on that Saturday or Sunday fixture, and then the midweek fixture as well. And they, support them through everything, through the highs, the lows, everything. And it is 90 minutes of singing back in. I think that's one thing that Forest fans will maybe be shocked at, is that there will probably be a big display, probably be like a big choreography display, and the singing and chanting will not stop. There'll be drums, there's megaphones, it's all orchestrated. It's just incredible, and that's what I love about it. I don't know why it's so different over there to England. I don't know whether it's got anything to do with the money that's involved in the English game now. There is so much when you're paying somebody £250,000 a week, and that's not even a big amount now, is it really? You look at the likes of Haaland and stuff. They're getting paid so much money. Is their heart really in the club? I don't know. Whereas at Sturm, probably the most valuable player we've got is probably 5, 6, 7 million. And they're probably on 20, 25 grand a week. They're good players. And I'd be quite happy to say that anybody in the Forest squad will be able to walk straight into the Sturm Graz team. But there's a connection between the fans and the players and the fans, the management and the fans. For example, I was after a game last year, I was in one of the fan club bars, and Christian Jauk, who's the Sturm Graz president, was there, and he requested to meet me. And he's like, so he's the president of the club that's in a bar with the fan groups, and he says, "Oh, you're the guy from England. I've been wanting to meet you for a little while. Whenever I do interviews, I mention you. We've got people from England coming over." And I just don't think you'd get that in the UK. For example, this shirt I'm wearing, this is a match worn Dimitri Lavallee shirt that I got on my last trip 3 weeks ago. We message him. He's got a phone number. Like, he calls us. He'll message and text us after each game. You know, I met him after the game and he gave me his shirt. We chatted for like 10, 15 minutes. There was no pressure. He wasn't in a rush. You know, we meet the players after the game in the car park, and I don't think you'd get that in the UK. I don't think there's that connection, and that's another thing that I absolutely love. I think footballers in the UK have become more accessible. If I look back at like the 90s and 80s, they were just like this on this pedestal, weren't they? You couldn't get near them. But now I think there is a bit more interaction. But in Austria, certainly in Austria, in Graz, it's the next level. You know, there's so much more interaction, and I think they're probably a little bit more humble. Their egos aren't so big as what, you know, somebody that's earning all that money and being told they're worth £100 million. It's just a bit more on a level, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's almost like a better version of non-league football, isn't it? In England, where you can be like almost pitch side and talk to the players, and you could probably have a beer with them in the clubhouse afterwards. Not that Sturm Graz players are doing that sort of thing, because if they're on a bit more whack and full time, it's a bit different. So I can see your point of view from that. Obviously, like in the 80s and 90s, you could probably bump into a player at some point and have a chat with them. Do you know what I mean? It is very, very different, and I can completely see the appeal of that, especially in I mean, the Austrian league is not massive, obviously, but it's still respectable. You've still got teams playing in Europe all the time, and Sturm Graz are having a good time of it because they've dethroned RB Salzburg for the last couple of seasons, haven't they? So how's it going in that, in terms of like league form and European form, Dan?
Yeah, there's been a lot of change. Obviously, close season or end of season, you lose players, you bring players in. So I think we're still in that sort of transition stage, I guess. I think also the standard as well, which I wanted to talk about. I guess the Austrian Bundesliga, as you said, it's not as good as the German Bundesliga. It's not as good as the Premiership. If I was to put it somewhere, I'd probably put it towards the top end Championship, bottom 6 or 7 teams out the Prem, sort of standard wise. But yeah, certainly this season, we're okay. We've got a game in hand, which we win, and we go equal top of the league again. We're still in the cup, which we've won to 2023. We lost to Rapid Vienna on Sunday, and I think the scoreline sort of flattered Rapid a bit. They scored a wonder goal for a free kick of an equaliser. If any of your listeners or watchers want to go and watch it, it is an absolute world-class goal. And I don't think any keeper's getting it, not even Matt Sells. He's not saving that. And then the winning goal was an own goal from, unfortunately, Dimi Lavallee. Who's actually not been playing too well since he's given us his shirt. So we must.
Oh no! Well, good for us, but bad for you, I guess.
Yeah, but certainly the season so far, I'm hopeful. We are desperately lacking a striker that's going to score goals. But we lost Mika Bierif, who was an Arsenal youngster. We had him last season, sold him to Monaco, so he's playing at Monaco. We've just lost a player called William Boving, who's now at Mainz in Germany. We've lost Gregory Wuthrich, who is a Swiss defender that was, like the linchpin of the defence, who's gone. So new players are coming in. We've got a guy called Maurice Malone that came in from Austria Vienna. He scored on Sunday against Rapid, but probably not as prolific as Mika Bierif was. Mika Bierif was just different level, excellent player. Also, we've had previously, when our first game was Rasmus Højlund's last game for Sturm before he moved off to wherever he went to, and then on to Man United and wherever else.
He went to Atalanta, didn't he?
Atalanta, yeah. So we are missing that striker. So the season closes in December because of the weather. Obviously, over in Austria, it's ridiculously cold. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to bring in a striker in there, and then push on for the second half of the season. But we're still thereabouts. As I say, if we win the game in hand, back on 24 points, and back top of the league. So also there is a split, which people look at the Austrian Bundesliga and they go, how can you win the league with like 30 points?
Yeah.
at the halfway point of the season, all the points are halved.
Yeah.
And the top 6 teams go into like the championship round, and the bottom 6 teams go into the relegation round. So we, for the last few years, have always qualified for the championship round. So we will play the likes of Salzburg, the likes of Rapid, the likes of VAC, who are a Wolfsberger side, very, very good side. So they're tougher rounds. So that's why when you look on paper and think, how can a team win the league with like 30 points? Well, that's because the points are halved, basically.
Yeah, same in Scottish football, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
people who will be familiar with that will know. But I watched that Mika Beerhoff for Monaco because we played him in pre-season. He looked like a handy player, so
It's
a big loss for you guys.
Yeah, huge loss. He was, it guaranteed like 14, 15 goals per half season, I guess, and he was very good. He could read the play so well. He would gamble, and going back to my culture days, he reminds me a lot of Jamie Curriton. He could read a pass that he could just read the game so well. So yeah, huge loss for us. Huge loss for us.
Jamie Curriton at 50 scoring in 10 tiers of English football the other weekend, which is an amazing achievement. So yeah, fair play to him that he's still going. So what sort of style are we Forest expecting to face at Sturm Graz, Dan?
Yeah, I think domestically, it's always a high press attacking football that we play, but I think Europa League we change it a little bit, and it would be more of a counter. Certainly up at Celtic 2 weeks ago, it was more of a counter attacking football. So they play a little bit more reserved. Obviously, the standard is a lot higher in Europa League, but I think it will still be a decent game. I think we'll push the attack when we can, but we'll look to soak up a lot of the Forest pressure, I think. However, you're in Graz and it's Sturm's home. They've got the curve behind them, so who knows? It'll be an attacking game. I think it's going to be an attacking game. It'll be quite an open game, so we'll see.
I mean, what formation is that normally entailing?
Yeah, okay. So it's that more recently they've been playing like a 3-5, 3 at the back, 5 in the middle, and 2 up front. But I think they'll probably switch to like a 4 at the back. We've got a guy called John Stankovic that used to play at Huddersfield, who sits defensive midfielderly, and then you'll have 2 in front of him, and then maybe 2 up top. So yeah.
Any key players that Forest fans should watch out for when we
can't give away our secrets, can I? Can't tell you that.
Well, I think the coaching staff will all know anyway.
Yeah,
and I think
of course
there's
will.
A couple of there's the guys who are like well into their data and look into different teams that they'll all know about. I know one guy definitely watched the Rapid game and mentioned the lad who scored the goal for Sturm. So
Morris Malone.
Yeah, so he said he was a tricky player. So
he is. Yeah, his tool is, he's quite strong up top. But I think you've also got I know we've also got Otar Kiteshvili, who is a Georgian attacking midfielder. Is absolutely brilliant. We've got Tommy Hovart, who again, if any of your listeners or fans want to go back and watch the Celtic game, he scored an absolute world class goal against Celtic. It was great for 66 or 62 minutes before they equalised and then got the winner. But yeah, Tommy Hovart, Otar Kiteshvili, obviously our favourite player, Dimi Leverley. He's a strong player at the back. He's a Belgium lad that's strong. He's been around. He's probably one of the most experienced men in the team now, along with John Gorenc Stankovic. I think they're probably the big names to watch out for. We've also got a young lad called Philip Rosgar in midfield, a Polish lad. He's only 18, 19 years old, but very, very good. So yeah, you've got a few players to watch, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously the loss to Celtic. What have your other 2 results been like in Europa League?
Beat Rangers 2-1 at home, and then lost the first one to Bodo.
Yeah, well, I thought Bodo was.
Sorry. So yeah, we were Champions League qualification for Bodo. Lost that game badly. Lost it. I think it was 5-0 in Bodo, and then not very good at all.
Because so you've beaten Rangers, beaten Celtic. That's peculiar, playing both Glasgow teams, and then who's the third game that you played?
I can't remember.
You played Midtjylland, didn't you? You lost to Midtjylland.
Yes, Midtjylland. Yes, sorry, Midtjylland. Yeah, I knew it was like the Scandinavian side. Yeah. So yeah, beat Rangers 2-1 at home, lost to Celtic 2-1 away, and then Midtjylland. Yeah.
Dan, what's your thoughts been on Forest? Obviously, it's a very peculiar situation having 3 managers in such a short space of time in football, but people probably wouldn't have thought it would be a surprise for Forest, but it actually is. Like, Marinakis is not really a sacking kind of owner for our football club. He is for Olympiacos, but not for Forest. So it's an unusual situation we find ourselves in. I just wanted your opinion from a neutral's point of view.
Yeah, I mean, from a neutral, I actually quite like Forest. Forest are like that. They're like a Palace type team. They're always sort of mid-table, but I quite like the style of football they play. I like their sort of the history of the clubs and everything as well. So yeah, it's I guess you've had a bit of a strange season so far, but results picked up on Saturday, didn't they? Had a decent draw against United, I guess. So yeah, I don't want to wish you too much luck and too many good things because you're playing Graz on Thursday. So, but
That's it.
domestically, yeah, I'd like to see Forest maintain their Premier League status. I think they will. I think
Yeah.
Wolves are so bad this season, aren't they? So Wolves will definitely be going down.
Yeah, and then there's a few other teams we need to kind
Yeah.
of lure in and then overtake hopefully in the next
Yeah.
few weeks. So we'll see how we go. How do you see the game going? I know you mentioned you think it might be quite open. Do you see it where Graz are going to look like on the counter more so than taking it to Forest, or could they definitely have an element of surprise?
I think with the home advantage, I think they will look to attack, and then once they've got that attack, maybe they'll sit back a little bit and counter. But I think for us, I know you're missing quite a few key players, aren't you? You've got Douglas Luiz that's out, Alexander Zinchenko that's out, Chris Wood's obviously out, unless he might be back, mightn't he? I think it's only a couple of
I
weeks he
think
was out.
he was ruled out for. I think he's even ruled out for Leeds.
Oh, okay, all right.
I don't
So
think we'll see Chris Wood.
you've got a few key players out. I like Matt Sells. I think he's a good keeper, and obviously Morgan Gibbs White's he's a quality player, isn't he? He's always going to cause problems. But as I said right at the start, I think any player from the Forest squad would walk straight into a Sturm Graz side. It's just the levels, isn't it? It's just different. It's just different at different levels. So yeah.
I mean, if you're going to pick your lineup, where do you feel like Forest might get quite a bit of joy from? I know that's revealing secrets, as you said, but like you obviously know a bit more about our team than I know about Sturm. So
Yeah,
I don't know if you see it because I think Forest fans are expecting a lot of rotation. Sean Dyche said that after the week because he said he played against Porto, we beat him, and he wanted to try and go with that positivity against Bournemouth, and it just wasn't to be. And now a lot of Forest fans are seeing the Leeds game as a massive game at the weekend because they're a relegation rival as we speak. So
yeah,
people are expecting a lot of rotation, I think, from Forest anyway.
I think if you go back and watch the Celtic game there, I think we struggled defensively down the right hand side. So I think your analyst would have watched that. They'd know that. So I think it's going to be down the right hand side. We've got a player in from Leverkusen on loan, Tim Uhrmann, who's a young German, and I've not been impressed with him too much. He seems to be a bit of a weakling because I said we've lost a lot of key players close season. So I think the right hand side defensively is probably going to open up a little bit. And that's not to say that Jurgen Storm or the Sturm Graz manager is going to, hopefully he'll change things. I know it's Celtic, he brought him off at half time and made some changes, which is coincidentally when we went on to lose the game. But anyway, the right hand side I think is probably a weak side for us.
Yeah, so it just depends if Callum Wilson-Odoi or Dan Ndoye plays there, I guess.
Yeah.
And because I think we want to see the likes of James McAtee get a chance, and Sangare's come out of the team all of a sudden, and Dominguez hasn't played a lot of football, and we need to rest players like Elliot Anderson, who's just played so much football this year. Never mind just this season, just this year has been ridiculous how much football he's played, and he's a lovely footballer. But I think we can afford to maybe give him a bit of a break at least. But so what team are we expecting, Dan, on Thursday? What would your team be if you're picking the Sturm team?
I don't think it's going to be too different to what we put out on Saturday. I know that I don't think there's too many injuries, so I think it's going to be a very. The thing is with Sturm that they've not got a big squad. So, like you've just alluded to there, you've got players that are playing week in. They're playing on a Saturday or Sunday. They're playing on a Tuesday. They're playing. Sturm had a big game against Admiral Wacker on Wednesday last week in the cup. Then they play Sunday. They're now playing Thursday, and we haven't got that big squad rotation. We haven't got that pool of players to pick from. So it's going to be a very, very similar side to what was picked out against Rapid. So we've got Oliver Christensen in goal.
Yeah,
I think there'll be a back four of, unfortunately, Tim Uhrmann. I think Dimi Laverly will be in there. You've got Luka Marek will be in there. It's going to be very, very similar, I think, to the team that played Rapid on Sunday.
Fair enough. It's on Flash scores it's a 4-2-3-1. So yeah, we'll see what kind of comes
4-2-3. Yeah, probably similar sort of formation. Yeah, 4-3-2-1.
Yeah. What's your score prediction, Dan, for Thursday?
I haven't even thought about it really. Sturm, we're struggling for goals, so I think it's going to be quite a low scoring game for us. We seem to like a 2-1 scoreline in Europe, so I think we'll probably win 2-1. We'll give you a goal. We'll give you a goal, give you a little bit of hope, and then smash that hope away from you. No, I think 2-1. 2-1.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm predicting. I've already predicted a 3-0 win with the
3-0?
rotation side. Yeah, well, I'm too. I don't know, for Forest, obviously. I'm too optimistic in this doom and gloom period that we're suffering with. Because why not? Like, if what's the point going? What's the point going to football if you don't think you can win the game? So, and I think positive, like the winning breeds confidence in any side, whether they're playing or not. Like, so I'm just hoping we can get another win under our belts and then take that into Sunday against Leeds personally. But I think some people would take a point if we beat Leeds on Sunday as well. So yeah. But I think lots of people are looking forward to the trip. I know a couple of people are already heading out there now as we speak. So I'm sure they'll enjoy it.
I work at Stansted, so I've seen there's a few Forest fans coming through yesterday. So all right, where are you off to? Off to Vienna, which is I had planned to go to this game, but the flights, because I guess there's so many Forest fans going over. The flight prices have gone right up through the roof. They're like £300, whereas normally I can get over there for like £50.
Yeah,
I know. Right up.
I know Reese, who does the pod, he did a budget kind of way of getting there. So I think he's going to Vienna potentially, or somewhere. Going, I can't remember. He's getting a train. It's only cost him like £100, like to do the whole trip. But he's got there's quite a few different ways of getting there. Christian, who's from the party, he's gone to Bratislava today.
Yeah, that's the cheap way of doing it. Yeah,
getting into Vienna to Graz, and that way. So yeah, I think there's a few ways, and I think people will. I think that makes it a bit more fun for some people. For me, it'd make me too nervous, to be honest, because I've had such bad luck with traveling this year. I wouldn't even bother trying.
Yeah.
But no, Dan, thank you very much for jumping on and giving us your insight into Sturm Graz. If people want to follow you and like get maybe they find an Austrian team they want to follow. So
we're on the social. So if any of your listeners, followers want to follow us on Instagram, it's at Sturm in UK, and it's the same handle for X as well. Though we don't publish too much on X these days because there's limitations on like how much you can post, whereas Instagram's pretty much unlimited. So we're always posted on there. So yeah, if anybody is interested in giving us a look, it's at Sturm in UK.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And if you've enjoyed the pod, do drop us a like, subscribe, and we'll be joined next time when we do the match review for the Sturm Graz game. Until next time, come on, you Reds.